Do you love indie comics created by a person and not a robot? You should learn more about Prairie Comics Festival, a nonprofit artist-run organization based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, that runs an annual event as well as year-round programming on how to make comics and how to ingratiate yourself in the community. Learn more at prairiecomics.com or attend one of our open studio nights every Wednesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. at 611-70 Arthur Street in Winnipeg.
Attention, citizens! It's time for Super Pulp Science!
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. Dear listener, it's been too long since Samantha Beiko was a guest of the show. It's been so long that I've decided to introduce her even before I introduced the long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry.
Well, you failed.
Dear listener, we're here to talk about the Prairie Comics Festival. Samantha.
Hello.
You are the artistic director of the Prairie Comics Festival and a whole lot more.
Yes. That's my role that I fulfill on paper on all the grants and when I'm on television, correct.
That's right. But in the interest of full disclosure, why don't you tell the dear listeners, remind the cadres of new listeners who don't know of the Samantha Beiko era of Super Pulp Science.
How
connected...
certainly
inculcated into the studio environment are you here?
Yes, I occupy a suite on the floor below you, not directly below, sort of on the other side.
I wish it was right below us.
But
You don't.
No, I agree. I am very happy. When I lived in my childhood home, the way we used to communicate, or how my parents would call me up for things, is they would stomp on the floor above us to call us upstairs. So I'm glad that I don't have to live through that again. Yes. Hi, I'm Sam Beiko, and I do all the things. As maybe you've heard me on this podcast previously, I've come here as a writer of young adult fantasy series fiction. I've come on as an editor talking about the process of many moons ago. I've also been on Story Break episodes, I believe. So yes, I do all kinds of things, and basically I'm very deeply ingratiated in publishing, both traditional and self-publishing for fiction, horror, science fiction, fantasy, and in recent years, I branched out into comics. I create a comic called Krampus is My Boyfriend, which, yes, 5 years on, I will be having the next book out soon, 4 pages away.
4 pages, really?
Yes, we won't get into that, though. When you run a comics festival, there's no room for yourself as a creator. That part of you has to die. Or be put flailing into a drawer and with your elbow trying to ram it shut, although people try to tease it out of you when you're there. Don't you also make comics, Sam? Ah, yes, the halcyon days of just making comics, rather than promoting them for everyone else. But I do enjoy a good community fete, especially when it's about things that you have made.
Samantha, there's so much to unpack there, but I want to start with this. A direct question, which will allow you to answer for the dear listener some things about Prairie Comics Festival. In your mind, this festival, which will be celebrating 10 years next year.
10 years? Wow.
Yeah, crazy, right? What is it for? What is the Prairie Comics Festival for?
It's for people who love the concept of creating something in the visual medium with your own hands without, a lot of the times, the barriers that come up in traditional publishing, the demystifying of that whole process by meeting artists where they are with a table full of stuff that they've put their heart and soul into, and also maybe imagining that you yourself could enter this world and create these sorts of things. So the show is not only for the person attending and for broadening their horizons, that comics are for everyone. They are not just for kids. They are not just something newly popular in the cultural cadre. We've always been a culture of people who tell stories with words and pictures. We're just doing it a lot more and a lot more freely these days. And platforms like Prairie Comics Festival enable that to happen. But we also create a very low barrier to entry for people to exhibit their works and to show them to people and just talk excitedly about something that makes them happy and propels them as an artist.
Can you address some of the barriers that other shows, we don't have to name those shows, but we could have between new creators and the audience that Prairie Comics is different as a result of?
As everyone at this table is aware of, because you have exhibited widely at numerous shows across Canada, the U.S.
Let the record show that was a leading question.
Yes. Exhibiting at comic conventions is expensive. And sometimes you will be exhibiting for the first time and you will have the concern trolls coming and looking at your display and they say, but are you doing okay at this show? Is this show business beneficial for you? Those people don't care actually how you're doing. They just want you to say that you've wasted your money to be there. And to just make them feel good about themselves, never coming to a show, never putting their own stuff on the table, or never even finishing the project in their table. Not to shade those people, but
went out here in the
But yes, exhibiting at shows is expensive. Table fees can start for the majority at 400 Canadian, and they go up from there on placement. If you want corner privilege, if you want an end cap, if you want electricity, if you want all of the bells and whistles, you don't want to bring your own tables. It's very costly. So you already arrive there, you roll in, you've spent $800 on the booth alone. That is eating into the profits that you're going to be generating at the show. If the show is very, very big and very, very busy, your profits are getting eaten into even more because the dollars going around are even thinner. So you've paid all this money and you're maybe traveling from somewhere else and you're paying for accommodations and you're paying for your food and you're paying for your flight. And maybe sometimes by the end of it, you don't have a profit, or maybe you've just broken even. And there are things about that are okay, but it's actually not very sustainable for a lot of people who are just starting out. The way Prairie Comics Festival is modeled is that our table fees are very low. They are $50 for one full table, or $25 for half if you don't feel that you can fill a full table. We also have a mentorship program where you apply and you say, I've never exhibited at a show before ever in my life, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know what point of sale system to use. I don't know how to create a display. I don't know how to package anything. Where do I get my stuff printed? We walk you through that for the entire year, and you get a free table. So we are kind of at this frontier. Everyone on our organizational board are artists like you two fine gentlemen who run this podcast, who know the labors and the cost of being at a show. And we try to alleviate that as much as possible.
In the interest of full disclosure, we're not on that board. It's people like us, you're saying.
Yes, artists who are fully aware of the cost, the labor, the getting your hopes up, etc. When also there's no admission to come to our show. So everyone walking in the door, they have money still to pay at the tables rather than having to walk in and give us their money.
Or just interest. The interest can be the only reason they came.
Correct.
And then they can decide once they're in whether there's something there for them.
In addition to our old favorites, chocolate and vanilla, this week we are featuring 6-Gun Strawberry, Wild Cherry Roundup, and 10-Gallon Tangerine.
No, I don't believe I care for any of those.
So this almost sounds too good to be true. How are you choosing these artists and vendors that are getting into this show?
Yes, only by a secret cabal.
Yes,
Only
it's
people who
so
have known
mysterious.
you for years.
We operate out of a room that cannot be accessed but for a secret door, and we're all robed and we're standing over a great pentacle, and the pentacle is to the god Osmosis, who oversees sequential art. No, it's literally all volunteer run. Every single person, including myself, is a volunteer and have been for the entire history of the organization. We'll get into that maybe a little later, but we receive all of the applications. We look over the folks who have come, for many years. And we're also looking at people who have new work, people who have never come before. We're not looking for you have to be some amazing, incredible artist for us to say yes. Pretty much, we look at our map and we say, can we say yes to everyone? We'd love to. We'd like to. And it gets really tough for us when we have to say no to people. But we're mostly just trying to say, is this person just starting out? Is this their opportunity to, give it a try? They've asked for a full table, but maybe they'll take a half so that we can accommodate someone else on a half. It's really mostly we do try to get everyone in who applies. We do try to accommodate every single person, and we try to save space for community outreach tables as well, which we give for free to organizations whose values align with ours. About their own organizations like Sober Families Alliance or Winnipeg Punk Rock Flea Market or Trans Health Clinic, etc.
So the convention is kind of broken into, you have the creatives, and then it sounds like publishers and groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
publishers do also apply. They apply in the same way that artists do. And we really get excited when publishers apply, especially from places outside of Winnipeg who maybe have never been here before. It's nice to know that we've created a place for them to come because they otherwise maybe might not come. We're not like Toronto where we're like a large population with a nexus of publishing operations. We have a wonderful community here, but I don't really think that the city itself is like a radar for big publishers from Toronto, from Montreal, et cetera, to come all the way here. So we do try to look at them and really make it easy for them to come as well.
So common thing at big conventions is grandfathering back into the same spot. Have you guys, it doesn't sound like that would fit with Prairie Comics.
That's right. You apply
Right.
fresh and new each
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. But for the convention runners, that must be kind of a nice way to end your year. You're getting like an influx of money for something that you don't have to do
You're
anything
talking about
for
regular showrunners.
just regular showrunners. And then you have 80, well, at some of the big shows, 90+% of your floor plan is locked in before you've even started planning.
You get
for
a
it.
sudden big interest-free loan.
Yeah.
Right?
You said it, not me.
Yeah. And then you get to carry that and then decide whether those people get to come in or not. And then sometimes those shows will, after the show has already happened, refund money from people they told before the show happens
Yeah.
that they can't come.
It also makes it really hard for anybody new to make it into that show,
right.
because there's
Don't get me started. Grossly exaggerated the Toronto Fan Expo AI
allegations.
yes. Not zero, never 0%, but not 25%. But I digress a little bit. You did bring in some big guests this year, and a lot of shows will bring in guests in the hopes that that guest will attract people to pay the ticket price to get through the door, to turnstile it, and they're not interested necessarily in is this good for the people in the show. They're just interested in the turnstile ticket sales because of that guest.
He's talking, of course, about wrestlers.
Yes.
No.
Lou.
I'm talking about a show we're about to go to, which is the Edmonton Fan Expo.
Do they have wrestlers?
No, they have hobbits.
They have all 4 hobbits.
They have hobbits, and that is going to turn the turnstiles real fast.
Less
we
money
love
for you
shows.
and me, though.
Well, I don't know. I love shows where the hobbits are at it. I find it delightful. But you didn't do this that way. You had 2 big guests, big in the publishing circles of comics and independent comics, who really were there to, I think, this is just my opinion now, dear listeners, show a destination for where you are starting at Prairie Comics with your little half table and where you could get, if you continued on that path, what the examples to follow, exemplars in the world of independent comics. Do you want to talk about your 2 big guests?
Yes, so this year we had Jeff Lemire and Jen Woodall. Both of them are from Toronto. Jeff is a DC writer now. Most folks know him for his original comic work, Essex County, Sweet Tooth, a new series called Minor Arcana. He's an artist, and he's doing writing now as well. And he
Worked
just...
with Gord Downey.
Yes, he worked with Gord Downey.
Fair Path, that was their project. Yeah.
His Roughneck was one of his original ones that a lot
Even
of people
if you've never
talking about.
heard of him, you'd recognize him. Like
Yeah.
he's got a very distinct, recognizable.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
scratchy brush
Yeah.
style that at first you would say to yourself, wait, what? How is this? What's happening? How is this mainstream comics? And then when you read it and are crying 20 pages in, you go, oh,
That's-
there's a magic
yeah.
power here. I see. So
Yeah.
for sure.
And he was really wonderful. And he wanted to come a couple years ago, but couldn't. And so he just kept saying, just keep asking me and I'll come. I'll see if the dates work. So they worked out this year and that was great. And we also had Jen Woodall, who you would see her work. You would recognize it immediately. She won the Ignatz as part of the Pulping Anthology last year. She's really big with Rhizo stuff. She actually runs the Rhizo studio at OCAD. She's just so wonderful, and she stayed longer in Winnipeg, actually, after, so that she and her partner, Trevor, could just explore the city because she, like Jeff, had never been to Winnipeg before. And that was a statement that was echoed with a lot of our out-of-towners. They'd never been here before, and they were just excited to see Winnipeg, which was really wonderful.
Both seem very excited about McNally Robertson.
Yes, it was really nice because every Saturday of the festival, we take our headliners to McNally on the Saturday night at 7 p.m. and they do like a little live streamed panel as part of McNally's programming in the atrium. And it was just super cool to have them. And
I forgot you live streamed that. Where can someone find that?
On the McNally Robinson YouTube channel.
Perfect.
So you can watch that at any time. And it was just really great to spend time with them because I drove them right from Prairie Comics Festival to McNally and we had dinner there and we just kind of hung out and chatted about like just life stuff. It was really nice. Jen's partner had never had French onion soup before and he's just like so pumped up. It was just a really lovely like pre-game for all of us because then we left from the restaurant to the event space and then I hosted the panel with them and we were already loosened up and we were just it was a little more unhinged than the version of it that occurred at 1:00 at the main festival.
You may be able to hear Stephen Call and I on the microphone because we're sitting close to the front. We were in the front row, but we were murmuring to each other as they were both talking because both he and I felt so seen by their discussion of the I don't know, almost the pathology that goes into making comics and the like self-talk and the limits and then the exaltations and all of these things. And he kept like just looking at me and like nudging me. And then I'm like, yeah, man, like here we are. So we had the greatest time watching two people that we think are in great positions in their creative output that we admired them. It was nice to be there with them.
It was lovely. And Jen also participated in every auxiliary event we had. We did like First Fridays in the studio. She came to that. She was like so dead tired from traveling, but she just still wanted to come and hang out with everyone and hung out at the reception on the Sunday night afterward and stayed late. And we all were like drawing together and it was just very down home. It just felt very down home and sweet. Just the whole vibe.
Magical place of legend, the Martha Street Studio, which I'd always heard about from many folks, but had never myself deigned to visit. It was so cool to see that space, which has lent itself to the career of so many important artists that have come out of Winnipeg. And it's just to see that organization in such a beautiful building with so much equipment. And it's, for those of you who don't know anything about Martha Street, and I don't know a lot, but what I know is this. There is a repository of ancient printing technology, all still in use, all available to be used. And they teach workshops in how to use it. But you can get a membership once you've cleared yourself on the machine to use it 24 hours of the day. So you can come in at any time. They have a digital production facility also.
They have a dark room. They have lino cut supplies. They have basically everything that you could possibly need. And they also have staff who are there that can help you, assist you, supervise you. They have workshops and tons of really wonderful programming. And they've been around forever in that building.
If Willy Wonka was into old printing tech, this would be his factory.
Hey, what you think you're doing? Turn off that goddamn noise. Rock and roll, baby. Freedom of speech. What do you think this is? Woodstock?
I was thinking while I was there, when I first got into comics, I didn't know Martha Street really existed. If I had, I wouldn't have haunted other print shops after hours. I probably would have had a membership to Martha Street, and then I would have had a much safer, more pleasant environment to have made all those things in. So that's how it felt to me.
And it was really wonderful because that relationship came about through Sean McLaughlin, who's known as Letter Peddler Press. He packs up his whole traveling letterpress thing in his bike. it's so wonderful and so cool to see. And he made it all himself. So he had an activation at the festival this year where he was doing these little handmade letterblock printed postcards that you could go and you could select each block to put on there. And the blocks were actually designed by artists who were there. Sean's also involved with Barefaced General Store. I believe he's one of the owners there.
Oh, I didn't know that was.
And he works at Martha Street. He really connected me as well with the artistic director there, Angela, and she's been really great help to me. We just would like get together and talk about what it's like being an artistic director of like these small community efforts. And she's lent me so much of her knowledge, and they're just always reaching out to just help. And I'm very bad at asking for help, which is why I'm burnt out to the point of having one foot in the grave at every moment. But they're really awesome there. And we're so glad that we have this partnership with them now.
So, rapper and philosopher Mos Def would always remind a creative person that the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. And so what do you think Prairie Comics' main thing is? And all of those pieces of the festival organizing and all the personalities and the idiosyncratic social groups and all of those things, how does that feel now that you're approaching the 10th year of the festival? And how have you kept the main thing the main thing?
I'd say the shape of us has changed quite, I wouldn't say radically, because it's been 10 years. So, and there was a pandemic in the middle of that, but we're still counting it as our 10 year. What's been most important is the thing that people do to me at the end of a show. They clasp my forearm tightly, their fingers digging into my flesh, looking directly into my eyes, which people don't do anymore because they're terminally online. And they say to me, "We need this. Thank you for doing it," which is always anathema, but I am tired all the time. So just the mere fact that we exist and we aren't simply... Look, there's nothing wrong with any events like this, but we're not just like an event that pops up once a year for one day and then we're done. We maintain, we continue to support, we have year-round programming, we have a studio where people can come, we have a way for you to continue that energy that I want to be a part of this, that how do I get my main thing to be the main thing? We're there telling you, it's doable. Here's how. Here are the people you can connect with. We've made sure that those people you can connect with are available through this program at this place at this time. We are providing income opportunities. We pay all of our instructors CARFAC fees. It's $150 an hour for whatever programming they're putting on. We work with partners to help subsidize those costs. We make sure that for the person participating in the programming, it's free or low barrier to entry because arts education is expensive. We continue to look at new things that we could be doing, like we're partnering with the Red River College on a micro-credential in comics foundations, which will be taught by comics creators in this community. And it's nothing crazy, but it's maybe foundational for a formalized program in learning and making comics. And we're doing all of these things because there is a gap in Winnipeg. We have a proliferation of artists. We have lots of people here who love comics and who make them, but bringing them together is a whole other story. And what I hear constantly is, I just wish I could find other people doing what I'm doing. And we just go, well, here we are.
Weekly event that helps people find.
Yes. So in our studio on the 6th floor, and actually I believe the last time I was on the podcast was me jangling the keys in the microphone and being like, "Oh, just got the keys to my suite." And that was like a year and some change ago. So we have this little place. It's about 1,000 square feet. It's about the same size as this room, a little bit, on 6, and I come in and I work out of there, and I put out a sandwich board and people can come and shop the little boutique that we've set up of indie published zines and new graphic novels and stuff like that.
Which, may I say, the festival purchases from the creators so that you could have that library there.
Yes. But we have a free library, and then we also have purchase this stuff. So it's like a little hub, and every week on Wednesdays we have a thing called Comic Coven where you can come from 6 to 8 p.m. and just sit and work. in a nice, inspiring space surrounded by other people who are doing their own thing, and you can just body double or you can like chat with people about what they're working
but
on.
Sam, I don't want to talk to anyone, but I do want to be together alone. Is that allowed?
Yes, you just put your headphones on and tally ho, which is what I do because I go to these, I run them, but I also sit there and like edit my novel because I'm in desperate need of just utter silence.
Setting a good example as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to one of these in like the early days of my career as well. And I think it was a huge help.
Yeah, not this comics.
Not
but
this one in
you had
particular,
a-
but like a weekly artist get together. And it really, kind of good choice. Illustrated the point of like,
Well, I'm done.
yeah.
You're a dad now.
Yeah, there we go. That's where that came
That's
from.
where that came from.
Like the people who are actually getting stuff done versus the people who just talked about getting stuff done. And seeing like doing that same kind of group for years, those people who sat and worked and were getting the opportunities and getting the freelance jobs and making strides in their career versus the other guys who are, still just talking. So they're good groups to have.
Yeah, I had a similar origin story where we had a Wednesday night group that would just meet all the time and cross-pollinate people from all kinds of different writing backgrounds, from film to poetry to comics to all kinds of things, essayists, everything, and just cross-pollinate the skills. And a weekly gathering is such a great way to remind yourself, I'm in community, I'm part of a community. Yes, the labor is personal, but the participation is communal. All of these things I think are really good. Do you regret setting a weekly event for yourself all the time on top of everything else you have to do?
I don't regret it. I strive ever towards having the support where I don't have to physically be there every single week and I can get some help. And I do get help. We have other organizers who have keys, and it's a very happening little place who do, if I can't do it, they're going to go and they just run it. It's basically just keeping the door open or sitting downstairs until 6:30 to let people in. We do try to say, please be here for 6 so that we don't have to sit down there forever.
Because the building locks. It's a secure building.
Correct. Yes. So, but people still find their way there. We had 12 people last week. We had a lull over the summer. We had 5 to 8 people who would come. In the winter, we get sometimes upwards of 20, 25 people because people are looking for ways to be together and to have that sustainability. And we did start it right in January, and mostly with this idea of combating these winter doldrums that really suck people dry. So I'm still very glad that we do it, and we've had nothing but wonderful people come. We haven't had any issues
Let's
at all.
talk about danger.
All right.
Danger of the doldrum. You just talked about the doldrums that sometimes creep in when you're isolated, alone, working on creative stuff, wondering. But you have a different doldrum now as a creative director. The well has been visited so many times that now it is dry and needs to be refilled. How are you going to do
When
that?
he says well, he means will to live. In any case, no, I'm sorry. I'm very just always doing something. And so I've got the screamies. Yes. So being a creative person, running an organization that the entire core of it is benefiting creatives. And I'm always checking in with myself and being like, don't you remember? You create things too. And always pushing those things to the side unless I have an external person like my editor being like, hello, where's your manuscript? So I have still been able to finish a novel this year.
Do they send that message from the 1950s?
Yes.
Yeah.
They send it over one of those ticker tape machines.
Girl on a wire board.
Yeah. It comes very,
Hello, where's your manuscript?
very tinny and very threatening.
What can you tell us about your piece, Philip?
It's about the Mutilator. It's a really great video game about a guy who kills people with a big hammer.
Oh, I thought maybe this was supposed to be your father.
What I do and have found is that constantly being surrounded by creative people, the energy that a lot of people get from going to shows and being an artist at shows is it constantly is just like, oh yeah, I'm going to make stuff. So yes, I'm constantly juggling a lot of things, but I am still able to fulfill my creative goals, maybe not at the same level of output, but I still do go to shows and sell my own stuff and make new stuff.
What's your relationship with not normal, but like other shows now that you run your own?
Common, not normal, common shows. Common show.
It's so tough. It's such a tough thing to...
Like you're seeing it through such a different lens now than you used to.
I think it's also the matter of the fact that we're a nonprofit, and a lot of these other shows that I attend are very corporate efforts, and they are very profit driven.
I think most of them did start from like a place of
like we're a collective,
and then they get bought by a big company.
Yes, or like, you know, you've been here since the start of the Comic-Con boom, where they weren't really seen as a place to make profit. They were just like, oh, there go all the cave dwellers, peering through all their long boxes. But then when it became a vehicle for celebrities to earn an income and walk away with garbage bags full of cash from doing photo opportunities, those needed to be managed somehow. And how can we, continue to,
I thought you were going to say something else when you started with photo opportunities.
Yes. But Comic-Cons, as we know it, have changed drastically. It's not really fan-based for the comic medium. It is very promoting television and film far more. And the Artist Alley itself has, for better or worse, whatever you say about Informa or any of these larger shows, the Artist Alley is just sort of a little cute thing that's available in addition to yes, they provide a platform to them at a steep cost. Again, that is also understanding from an organizer's perspective. Venue costs have skyrocketed, and all of the other things associated with running these sorts of things, they are very challenging. And one day the bottom will fall out, and then the indies will just rise again, and it will just be a constant.
The whole circle will happen.
The whole circle will happen again. In any case, I come to these shows and I meet them for whatever model it is that they're running, and I just accept it. For an indie show, it's sort of the same thing, but our also main driver is we try to not be those big shows because we know what our capacity is, and we know that we're not for profit, and we know that everyone's a volunteer, and we're all just doing our level best to get everyone together and show that comics are cool.
One of the things that Prairie Comics did, and it's interesting because you're downstairs sending these emails, but they go all the way to space and then to my inbox. Things like extensive list of where you could find local restaurants, local coffee shops, stuff that was around that really touched on the local business aspect of where the show was set. In the venue itself, you arranged to have a person there or a group there. I can't think of the name of the company.
Bricolage Coffee. They're a micro roaster in Winnipeg.
Delightful. And so there was coffee on site. There was beverages on site.
When I heard about this, I got
jealous.
Visibly angry.
Yeah.
Free snacks.
Yeah.
We're off in Ottawa at a different show.
We had snacks.
Nobody's offering me snacks in Ottawa.
No. And there was free snacks. There was a huge table of free confection.
Which usually only guests and special people get.
Yeah.
Yes, and I've been a guest at a show, and they come around with a card or they offer to deliver food to your thing, and I'm like, why not for everyone? There are people here who have their children behind the booth. Like, there are people here who are very visibly exhausted. Like, offer it to all. And I would say Icon does that with water and breaks. They have a very extensive volunteer list, and for a larger show that has an extensive amount of volunteers and also capital, it is sustainable for them to do. And I won't go on to a super tangent about this, but couldn't you imagine
in another timeline
being a comic creator at a comic show and you pay a little bit extra for the 4 days that you're there for childcare so that your child can be on site and you can visit them, and that the children can come and maybe enjoy the convention and have special events for that? Because I am noticing a lot of my fellow comic people are having children, and the number one thing that really makes them pull back and say, I can't do as many shows, is being parted from your family. If only that care was extended to exhibitors and vendors. Alas, dear listener, it's not a priority because it doesn't drive money. And that is just the way the world is.
So because I know you a little bit, more than a little bit, that saltiness must come from the fact that you're exploring this idea.
I'm exploring it, but also I can't do it myself.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it would be such a wonderful thing, especially to have it in a museum. But
Can we just get Al Simmons to watch any kid that comes into the room?
oh, wouldn't that be lovely?
Right. Speaking of Willy Wonka style, gentlemen.
But those kind of ideas are like, I'm thinking about this from a community perspective. And the people that I want to enclose my arms around are the people who are behind those tables making the art and taking such a great risk by putting their passion on the table and coming to my show. And how else can I accommodate them? It's a wonderful thing to always have at the forefront of your mind. However, dear listener, I think I've said about 5 times, we are all volunteer run. And it would be cool and good if I did stop putting myself out there so much and pulling myself into 80 directions. So if you are a Winnipeg local and you would like to help organize Prairie Comics Festival, please get in touch with us. info@prairiecomics.com. Help is always appreciated, and I'm very bad at asking for it.
What kind of skills are you looking for?
I'm looking for self-starters, people who understand that what's really cool and what I really like is when you think of something I didn't think of, and then you say, well, I'll just go do it. And I just go, oh, no, wait, are you sure you don't want me to do it? And they're like, ah.
You're looking for ahs.
Yeah.
My grandpa would have been a great volunteer for me. Yeah, he was a guy. Shake both hands. Exactly right.
If you could go back and start it all over again, what would you do differently?
Oh, nothing. The way that we started is we were just a little group of kids who were like, oh, I love TCAF. Can we have a TCAF here?
Why don't we have a TCAF?
Why don't we have a TCAF here? And it was so little. It was a one-day thing in the Millennium Library and the Carol Shields Auditorium. And then across the hall, there were some panels. And people came. And we were like, wow, this is so cool and great. And I love where we are now as well, because it is that still, this is cool and great. There's just a lot more people who come, which is always so interesting when people apply. And I look at the numbers, and half of the people who got in this year, over half, were from out of town. And it's not because we rejected locals. It was simply because there were more people from out of town applying than there were locals this time around. And I thought that was really cool, because people have heard that Prairie Comics Festival is a cool show to go to, and the organizers really care about you. And so they applied. So I wouldn't really change anything, but we have changed. We continue to change. We continue to grow. But the reality is probably our number one goal right now is sustainability. Because doesn't it suck when something you really love in your community goes away?
So is this the razor's edge? This is the need that everyone needs, where you start cutting down truffalo trees by adding like a fee for entry?
No.
Or higher table costs, Sam. Then you could hire some people.
No.
Huh? What about selling more ad space in the venue?
Ad space.
Yeah.
What
about selling the personal information of the people who apply?
I've so had mine funny.
Sold before.
Every year, the scam goes out. We have the information of all the attendees of Prairie Comics Festival. Do you want to buy it? And everyone points it out to me, and I'm just like, what attendee information? Yeah. We don't sell tickets. We don't collect it. We don't have that as an asset, and we're never going to.
Why is that the scam that has... So what we're talking about, dear listener, is if you do conventions ever, these scam people will get your email and they will send you the next year that whatever show you went to, we have the 2026 attendee list. Would you like it? We'll sell it to you, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're a person who is strictly lead driven,
your business,
then if you're all business, this is an enticing way to skip any social interaction and have access
to I get
individual
one of these at least like once every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I get one of these for every show I've ever done, because my email is immediately sold by these big companies.
Correct.
Yeah. It's very funny. All these funny little things that I never want to touch with a 20-foot pole.
Do you serve beer or any alcohol?
I wish. Actually, you wish. After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're going to wish you had 10 beers.
But yes, I mean, that is the reality. We are a registered business. We're a nonprofit, so all of the money that we do take in, it just goes back into our operations. And every year we apply for grants. That is how we are funded. We go to the Manitoba Arts Council, Winnipeg Arts Council, Canada Council, everyone who offers community support funding, and we ask them, would you please support our community for this event and for all of our practices that we do leading up to the event? And a lot of them say yes, and a lot of them also have these things, these fancy things called operating grants. So we're like on that cusp of, if we receive this next grant, we will become eligible for operating grants, which pays towards admin fees, venue fees, etc. So we're just kind of, waiting to get into that space. We've also applied for charitable status so that we can develop relationships with partners who would like to, do a corporate sponsorship and would also like a tax benefit from that. We take in donations, we sell memberships. We have our little studio shop. So we have created other income streams that don't necessarily burden the vendor.
Speaking of which, I wanted to ask, because I wasn't able to attend this year. Last year, you did lanyards, you had tote bags. What kind of Prairie Comics merch did I miss out on this year? T-shirts?
We didn't redo the T-shirts or the tote bags this year because we were waiting to do updated designs for our 10-year anniversary. We're really going to be pushing a lot of things on the 10-year anniversary.
But you did do a zine.
We did a zine.
That's right.
And when I say zine, I mean like a beautiful, publication, square bound. Like there was a lot of content.
We call it a zine, and every year we fuss over, should we change that? It's not really a zine, but we're so precious about it. The shape,
the definition of zine
is very DIY.
Yeah.
Saddle stitch,
but
staple.
the content, okay, so in favor of, if I was on your board, I would say in favor of keeping it called a zine, is that it increases the likelihood that people who don't yet know if they're ready for quote unquote prime time, but they are making 3 to 5 page stories and they love making them, and they in their mind call them zines. That's what you're calling for. You're asking for zine content. And so I think
at its core, it's
still a zine.
Yes. So the project, we do it every year. We try to, where we create a traditionally published trade paperback, and it's done in black and white. And the whole concept is that we go to the exhibitors who've been accepted and we ask them if they would like to participate in the zine. And the zine acts as a time capsule of that year's exhibitors. And those who request to participate, they get paid a reprint fee. And it's for work that they already have, that hasn't been published somewhere and they'd like it showcased. They can submit up to 5 pages. And we pay, I believe the page rate was like $15 this year, maybe more than that. We also will take pinups, and interspersed throughout all of these are interviews that are conducted with, again, exhibitors who want to participate. Some people will be interviewed but not have comics in there. Some people will have comics but no interviews. Some will do both. We facilitate those with an intern.
Can I point out something? If you're keeping, dear listener, if you're keeping track of barriers to entry and the mathematics of this, if you got accepted to exhibit and you had a table fee associated to it, but then you drew comics, then those comics would have paid for your table fee, and you would have appeared in the zine, and that zine's available to anyone to purchase from the show, which then further gives you more exposure, real, actual exposure to people who actually love comics. It's like, let's just call it what it is. That's amazing.
Yes, it's just like completely reciprocal.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of ecosystem we want to develop. Interspersed between all of the comics are interviews, like I said, and they're conducted by an intern that we connect with through the University of Winnipeg, who is paid an honorarium to conduct these interviews on their own time and then write them up. And we had a really great intern this year, Samara Stanley, and she's become very involved with what we do.
I loved Samara's interview. She interviewed me for the zine, and I have been interviewed, not to sound disingenuous, but I've been interviewed many times for the media, and it's always wrong when it goes into print. People have done their best, but this was one of the first times where I read after, and I was like, that's exactly what I meant. That's what I said, and that's what I meant. Wild. What a great job. So
yes,
good work.
Very lovely. And we're going to continue working with her on all kinds of other things. And then the books are printed by Friesens, and that's their sponsorship. They print them for us for free. We sell them. We take that money, and it just goes back into the organization, into giving out honorariums, into paying venue costs, et cetera, et cetera. And it has an actual ISBN. So we register an ISBN for it, for both an e-version and the print version, and then it can go into libraries.
But Samantha, that's exactly what I'd need if I was applying for grants and they'd asked me for a list of my recent publications.
Correct.
Could it be that this also is a way that you're being reciprocal?
Isn't it just? It's almost like we're able to create the world that we want to see if we actually just sit down and do it. So wonderful and good, but there is a cost, and that's that.
You're
Time,
effort, stress, doing it for free. I'm just in a position where I currently can do that, and it's something that I really love doing. And
I bet there's a pharmaceutical, I clearly need some, a pharmaceutical company that will buy this festival right out from under you, and then you'll finally
Rexall presents Prairie Comics Festival.
that's why I can never leave, because I have to protect it with my whole body, just like Demerzel and the season finale of Foundation.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen the last episode, you monster.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Anyway, but when I saw that recently, I was like, yeah.
You understood.
Yes, because I have also been around the block quite a long time, dear listener, for 15 years in the publishing world. And I've seen a lot of enterprises come out with, very altruistic.
But with your hours in, I'd say 30 years.
Sure. Yes, I've aged terribly.
No, I didn't mean it. I meant that the amount of effort that you put in compared to how others might think of an 8-hour day. I don't know if you've ever worked an 8-hour day in your life. Maybe
so
16.
refreshing.
Yeah, doesn't 8 seem nice?
I've just seen a lot of things come and go, or just capitulate, or just collapse from the inside out, or succumb to ego, and I've seen all those things, and I'm constantly having these insight checks of, are you falling into these patterns? Are you doing the same thing? How are you being perceived? Because a lot of this, the day-to-day, you receive an email from any of our 7 addresses. They're all coming from me for the most part. I'm the one managing the banking, doing the taxes, running the studio, paying the rent on that. PCF doesn't currently pay rent to me on that studio. So there are aspects that, yes, I, as the person that I am able to do it. That also has to come with a sustainability evaluation, because, as you've mentioned, I have other commitments. I am an artist. There are other things that I have going on in my life, which is where having a broader community of people who are willing to help out with the festival does help indeed. And I hope that as we go into our 10th year, that we pursue other avenues of income, that we can bring on more people in a sustainable way that are in paid positions, because relying on free labor is also not what I like to do. So I'm trapped in this circle of, I don't want anyone to work for me for free, but I'll work for free to my own demise. So it's really hard to ask for that help.
How can you stand all these assholes?
Some people are okay, but mostly I just feel like poisoning everybody.
Okay, so the crux of it is that you've created a place where other people's creative goals have come before yours in some way recently. What is a way, if you were now to use a little thought experiment, 10 years ago, Sam comes walking into next year's Prairie Comics Festival. Of what use would it have been to 10 years ago, Sam? Have you built a place that helps the person that you were become the person that you want to be?
15 years ago, Sam, or even 10 years ago, Sam, would sit on the transit in Toronto, and had just newly gone to TCAF, and it was much smaller then even. It had a little room off to the side with people who made webcomics. I'm making air quotes for those who are not in the audio medium. And I would be on transit, and I would just picture myself in an office with all of these literary graphic novel covers just everywhere, and just assisting people with getting these books into other people's hands, in their own hands. And I was like, that's really what I want to do. I want to do that so bad. And if little me walked into this little space that was created, they would just lay down face down on the floor and be like, you did it.
Because you do that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then they'd also look at me and say, but at what cost? But it's also, I'm looking at it in the same way that I look at being a parent. And when people come to me and they're like, I'm so scared, I'm having my first kid. What's your advice? And my advice is, if you have something that you're passionate about and you haven't done it up to this point, I would say do it before having kids so that you don't, in those hard first years where you're putting all of your needs aside for a child, you don't look back and say, oh, I never did it. And you start attributing it to having the child, which isn't real. It's just that you didn't do it. So I would, look at myself and say, have you been publishing books? Yes. Have you been going to shows and selling those books and talking to people? Yes. Have you been going to events and readings and, furthering your career as well? Yes, I have. Maybe not to the same extent, but I'm still doing it. I haven't stopped.
Have you held the door open for others regularly?
Yes.
Have you helped people up the difficult parts of the ladder?
Yep.
Have you created a space for community to come where there is no barrier to entry?
Have you handed out your email to literally everyone who looks at you with a shine in their eye and says, can you help me? And I say yes. And then I walk away and go, oh, I did it again. But yes, because I didn't feel that was accessible to me when I was moving away from Winnipeg to go do my postgrad in Toronto.
It's partly why we do this show in the first place. Like, we show up every week to do it.
And yes, I'm just glad that I created that. That's my legacy. Cool. It's part of my legacy, but it's also it just feels fulfilling in the same way that it feels fulfilling to write a book and make people hallucinate.
Oh, shut up, don't do that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then if you are a creative person who has made a book, made a comic, made a zine, made a scratch on a piece of paper, and your hope is it'll make someone feel something to hallucinate, as you put it. It's a long time before Labor Day, long weekend of 2026 here in Winnipeg, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that Prairie Comics Festival is doing. We've alluded to some of it, but do you have any specifically in mind you'd like to point out right now?
Are you taking a little bit of a break?
Let's not get there.
Sorry.
Literally.
First, we're putting the spotlight on, then we'll let her rest.
The Monday after Prairie Comics Festival, I'm just turning the page and I'm like, okay, 2026, here we go, because that is the reality. Let's see. Something's coming up. We are partnering with 204 Comics for Linen Radchenka's Satanic Panic.
We know that guy.
October 1st.
He's sitting over there eating rice cakes.
204 Comics is one of our membership partners. So if you purchase one of our annual memberships, you get discounts there. They're great. They hosted a really great event with Jeff when he came. So that's October 1st. Our next event is our holiday zine market. It's literally like a one-day thing. It's very down home. It's called the Merry Krampus Zine Fair. It also serves as like our holiday party, to be a little send-up because, as we talked about, everyone's working in isolation. There isn't an office to go to. So you can come hang out with your friends, drink hot cocoa, eat some snacks, and then go to the next room. Or
make new friends. If you have no comics friends, this is a perfect place to come and meet other people who are making comics.
Yep. So that's going to be happening December 13th. That is also the day that we celebrate the opening of applications for Prairie Comics Festival 2026. They open on December 13th. They run for about 6 weeks, and then we shut the door. So they'll close on February 13th. And then we spend like a month looking them over, and then we send out acceptances. So we're already gearing up to, get the next people. We also want to give people a lot of time to make plans if they're traveling here. And then every Wednesday we have Comic Covens at 611-70 Arthur Street. It's free.
How old do you have to be, Sam? Someone asked me this question. How old should I be to come to the Comics Coven? What's the age range of the people who... You're making that face, but a lot of people think of comics as either a young person's game or, if they've listened to Justin and I, an old man's game. But what is the actual range? What's the constituent parts of that route?
I would say that as long as you can come and sit quietly and work independently, you are welcome. We don't really have like any rules. It's just mostly as long as what you're doing is not disturbing the work of others around you, like in a classroom or a library setting. Feel free.
But the point I was trying to make is like, I've seen young, old, all genders, all types, all sorts of folks. And the commonality here is I like scratching my stories onto paper or pixels.
And I like doing it around other people. Cool. That's great. Yep. Yeah. So there's really no limits. Just come and work on your stuff.
There are no limits. Do you hear that? Dan really liked it when I whispered that loudly into the microphone, dear listener. Okay. So I think this more or less wraps up our what's the word, summation of the Prairie Comics Festival
in 2025 coverage.
Yes, this 2025 coverage of the Prairie Comics Festival has been brought to you by SM Beiko. You should definitely track down Krampus is My Boyfriend or your new series. Why don't you talk about your new book that's coming out? Some shameless self-promotion, some just about you, Sam, as the last few moments of the show.
I wrote a book this year, which is book 3 in the Brindle Watch Quintet. Quintet means 5. So I'm getting there. I'm getting very close now. It's a wonderful little series. It's like takes place in a completely made up world called Brindle Watch with monsters and mysteries and romance. And the book that I just completed and I'm doing the edits on right now is called The Sleuth of Farron City. And for the first time takes place from one of these monsters' perspective. She's the main character in this. Her name is Sable. You get to go back to Quix a little bit, which is from the first book, The Stars of Mount Quix. And it takes place in like a big metropolis, and there's like a disappearance, and it's really lovely. So I'm very excited about that book. I think it comes out in the fall. We've moved it around a little bit, so it will be coming out in 2026. But I'm
the we in that case.
ECW Press and me for just being behind on deadlines. But that, I mean, things happen and things have been working out fine. I did punch out most of that book though in the last 2 months. It was 420 pages.
Yeah, that's the sound.
Yeah.
But you do it long enough, you understand the feeling in your body of creating a story is really, I don't really know how else to explain it, but it's like building a box. You know all of the parts that go into it to make the box and what goes in the box. And,
wow, this is a whole other episode because I strongly disagree. This is a superpower.
Yes, I would say I'm probably undiagnosed ADHD, so it helps quite a bit. So, I'm not a medical professional, but I sure do love to speculate and enter spirals in my own mind.
Well, dear listener, if you are entering a spiral in your own mind, maybe the Prairie Comics Festival is the place for you.
Find like-minded people.
Yes.
Also in a spiral. Enter the spiral, not the Uzumaki's kind.
Oh my
god.
gosh.
Good one.
Is that the new slugline for the Prairie Comics Festival?
Enter the spiral.
Enter the spiral. Enter Sam's spiral. No, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we have talked about how comics festivals get made. I'm GMB Kamichuk, encouraging you all to join the fight and make comics.